Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. Okay, my loves, welcome to episode 4 of Livfiit Listens. First of all, can we just take a second? How has it already been a month since I've launched this? I know 4 episodes doesn't seem like a lot, but 4 weeks ago? I can't believe I launched this 4 weeks ago. That's crazy. I guess happy 1 month anniversary. I guess. I don't know. This is crazy. I also have my tea today, feeling so trendy, so vibey. ASMR. Tell me you heard me swallow. Anyways, okay, I guess let's just jump right in. I'm so excited about this episode. But first, before I dive into anything that has to do with that, of course, we're going to do our gratitude. And I actually didn't do any gratitude this morning. So when I was outlining the show, I was like, oh, wait, let me actually it made me think about what I'm grateful for today. And I just was like, this is why we do this. This is why it's part of the episode, because it makes everyone kind of think okay, wait, let me reflect. What am I grateful for today? Honestly, what I'm grateful for, and I feel strongly about this today, I'm kind of on edge this morning and I'm going to tell you why, but I'm grateful for just good freaking food. Let me tell you some background on this gratitude. So today I'm filming, if you don't know, I'm doing 12 days of Live Fitness for the month of December on my YouTube channel, essentially posting 3 days a week. I have all the videos planned out. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. But it's at Livfiit like normal. But essentially I'm doing a vlog all about going vegan for the day and just trying it. Let me put it this way. I am a breakfast connoisseur. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day. I love what I have for breakfast every day. I get excited, not even ooh, I'm content. No, I get genuinely excited every single day to eat my breakfast. Okay. It's no secret. And I guess I didn't fully reflect before scheduling this video. I just didn't realize how many things I eat on a day-to-day that's part of my routine that isn't vegan. So I knew I couldn't have eggs, obviously. But it just didn't click, no eggs. No turkey bacon. I love turkey bacon. If you're in my family, I went through a hardcore obsession with turkey bacon multiple times throughout my life, and I don't know how I've gotten to a more balanced relationship with turkey. The next podcast episode, how I balanced my relationship with turkey bacon. No, but I would have it all the time. I would have it in the morning, 3 pieces. I would just make it for an after school snack, 3 to 6 pieces. I was obsessed with it. But anyway, circling back. Also, the other thing I realized was that I couldn't have freaking chocolate in my oatmeal. That's what put me over the edge, was when I realized that I couldn't have chocolate in my oatmeal. I was really pressed. I was okay, should I change out this video? I understand there's vegan options. I can buy vegan chocolate. I just hadn't gotten that far yet. And it was in the morning. This was just this morning. I was hungry. I wasn't going to go to the store right then. So I was okay, we're just going to make do with what we got. But I was tense. I was tight. I was all right, I'm definitely bitter right now. So I'm just thankful that we have the freedom to eat good food, that I'm able to choose the food that I want to eat, that we're not in a place where we're forced to eat certain food every day or all the time. I'm thankful that I'm able to enjoy my food, that I have an abundance of food, that I'm able to go to the grocery store, that I have the money to go buy food, all the things. I'm just feeling so grateful, and I'm being so dramatic. I still had my oatmeal this morning, but I couldn't have chocolate. And I was out of nut butter, which the nut butter would have carried the team with the lack of the chocolate, but I couldn't have the chocolate, and then I was out of nut butter. So it was just disastrous. So I had oatmeal with strawberries and banana. Thank the Lord I had fruit, some flax seeds and some maple syrup. And then I literally had a vegan protein bar. We're not up to a strong start. This is so not on the topic of this podcast, but you guys can tell I'm tight. I'm pressed about this. Veganism isn't for me. And I know that sounds so ignorant, but right now, in my initial infant stages of trying out veganism, it's challenging. And when I say pre-initial stages, I'm talking about the first hour of trying to be vegan with no pre-homework or research beforehand of trying to figure out vegan breakfast ideas. Anyways, so this episode is all about the ego versus the high self. the higher self, highest self. I use it interchangeably. I always prefer the highest self, my highest self, because it's like your peak, you know? It's the best you can be. But I'm so excited about this episode, and this actually came to me when I was meditating this morning. I feel like I have so many backstories today, but I'm feeling chatty, so like, and that's what this platform is for, so we're gonna chat. But this actually came to me when I was meditating this morning, and I had such a powerful meditation, like out of nowhere, and it generally like made me cry. Not to be dramatic, but like to be dramatic, like literally like tears were coming down my face. And it's so always interesting when your eyes are closed, you know what I mean? But like you'll just have like tears rolling down. But like that's what it was. Like it was just such a beautiful, super in-depth meditation where I just felt very connected to what I was visualizing and what I was connecting with in my meditation. And I don't really know what it was. Like some days I really struggle to get in a flow with meditation, like for sure, or I'll struggle to like feel motivated to want to meditate. But for some reason this morning, I just kind of like got up. I woke up earlier than normal, got out of bed, brushed my teeth, turned on meditation music, and just sat down. I also do find, I hate to admit this to myself because in the morning I'm always so lazy and I'm like, I just want to lay in my bed and meditate. And so I'll just be laying under the covers, but it's never as powerful and as potent as when I'm like up out of bed, sitting down upright. I find I just connect a lot better. I don't know why I'm explaining about my meditative practice. That's a story for a different day for another potty. But basically the meditation, why it brought me to tears was because I really connected and I felt super close and like in tune with my higher self. Like I visualized her. I could see what she looked like, how she carried herself. But the biggest thing that brought tears to my eyes was I thought of what she felt like. And I don't mean what she felt like if I were to touch her arm, like she had smooth skin. No, like what she felt like her energy field, like her presence. And it was just so beautiful. Like it was like a glow, and it just brought tears to my eyes. Like if you were to see like a really pretty nature scene that makes you want to cry, like that's kind of what happened to me. And it's so interesting because like the higher self is you. You know what I mean? Like it still is yourself, but it just is interesting kind of seeing it, I don't know, just connecting to that, because when I first would kind of start to connect with my higher self, like I remember the first time I really connected with my higher self in meditation, and it again made me cry, but it felt like separate. Like I felt like I was looking at her. But the more I've meditated, the more I've connected with her. I keep saying her, even though it's still like me. It's just a different pivoted version of me, I guess, if you will, but I'm just using her for lack of a better term. But like the more recently, as I've been visualizing her and meditating with her and joining with her in meditation, that's actually perfectly the way I just said it. I do feel like I'm joined with her. Like now I feel like it's me in my meditation. Like I feel like I am stepped into her and I are one. I am in her energy field, she is in mine. Like we are in unison. It's like when I think of her now, it's like I'm in the POV almost. Whereas previously it was like I would be looking at her from afar. So that's been something that's also very interesting. But like I think the ego versus the higher self, like this is going to be such an important podcast for you guys, because it's so important for honestly like self-awareness to know like what's holding you back, what place you're acting out of. And once you actually like become aware of these two versions and actually like thoroughly understand them, you will have a lot more like clarity and freedom and power to decide like how you want to show up and also like how to move forward. So I'm kind of going to be using a few different terms like throughout this episode. You're going to be hearing like shadow self, the ego, unconsciousness. Those are all like the same thing. So if I refer to ego, shadow, or unconsciousness, that's all the same thing. And when I say light, higher self, and your consciousness, that's all the same thing. So there's essentially like two different umbrella vibrational frequencies. And I honestly used to think, and I think this is very common, that like the ego just means that you're conceited. Like especially growing up, and like for a long time, like I just didn't understand what the ego meant in terms of kind of more so like spirituality and like conscious thinking. Like I just didn't get it, because I was like, I thought the ego just means you're like conceited, like you have a big head, or like you think you're better than everyone, which like that still is a component of egoism, like for sure, but there's so much more to it. Like it encompasses so much more. So like I said, there's two umbrella vibrational frequencies, right? It's fear and love, shadow and light. That's really all it is. Okay, so like when we're having feelings of lack, when we feel anxious, when we feel jealous, when we feel this attachment to things, when we feel this need to control, when we have anger, resistance, resentment, self-doubt, comparison, all of those emotions, all of those feelings, all of those energetic states are just fear that's ran by our ego. Okay. Now there's different degrees, right? Like there's certain degrees of, because everything is energy. Like I'm saying, when I said vibrational frequencies, everything is made up of energy. Everything vibrates. It's literal physics, chemistry, science, and everything, every atom is vibrating. It has its own frequency. So yes, there's different degrees, I guess, of lower vibrational frequencies within that list that I just shared of fear, but it's still one pocket umbrella category. On the other end, these are higher vibrational frequencies of emotions and feelings, etc. So feelings of joy, gratitude, acceptance, peace, presence, creation, abundance, authenticity, my freaking favorite word ever, detachment, trust, forgiveness. All of this is love, the vibrational frequency of love that's ran by our higher self. So that's like the foundational separation between like ego and the higher self, if that makes sense, when I list those kind of emotions and feelings that come with them. So kind of going back to what I just said, how there's fear and love, or essentially shadow and light. So when I say your ego is your shadow, that's kind of like the darker, unhealed parts of you as a being. We all have light within us, and we all have some shadow aspects between us, because that's the whole point of a human experience. We're not perfect. We're not angels. We're not free of, I say sin for lack of a better term. I don't mean that in necessarily a religious way, but you know what I mean? Like we're flawed creatures. So that's part of our, mission and purpose in this human experience, is to be able to learn from things, make mistakes, to grow, overcome, progress, and improve as a human being. It's kind of honestly like a game. So that's why I feel like we have an ego or a shadow self, in my opinion, that like the goal of life is to work through that shadow and turn as much of that shadow into light as we can, or shine as much light in our shadows as we can, to heal, overcome, and grow throughout this human experience. So like I said, it's the shadow aspects of yourself. It's your subconscious programming and beliefs, what you were told, how you should act, think, feel, what you should pursue. Okay, it's all your limiting beliefs, your self-doubt, your anxiety, your jealousy, your comparison, that feeling of like needing to know everything, why it's happening, control all of these situations. All of that are just shadow aspects. They're just unhealed versions of you, and quite literally your hurt inner child. It likes to live in like safety and in familiarity. Like its job is to try to keep you safe based on what it thinks it knows, what it thinks is true, when really it's just, it knows what it knows due to what other people have told it to, or based on like you getting bullied in high school, or what your parents told you. Like I said, how you were told you should act, be, think, feel, etc. It's all your subconscious programming and beliefs. Like I said, when it says it likes to live in familiarity and to keep you safe, quote unquote. It's very closed off to newness, to expansion, to, new endeavors, to risks. And like I said, like how it's kind of like your unhealed inner child. Like it's true. Like if think of like you as like a 12-year-old. I have 3 older siblings, so I'm just going to try to whim up with an example here. This isn't necessarily true. I'm just using this as an example. But like when I was 12, and like, let's say my older brother was like, Liv, like, and he's 5 years older than me. So okay, yeah, he would be like 17. He's like, Liv, like, let's go jump and, jump off this really high cliff jump and do a backflip into the water. My inner child would be like, no, Luke, like I'm scared, I don't want to do that, etc. Like I don't want to get hurt, I don't know, should I ask mom? Like all that sort of stuff, that like fear. That's kind of what I mean when I say like your unhealed inner child, like how I would be like scared and nervous in that situation and would try to hold myself back to keep me safe. It's kind of like the same thing. Or like, for example, like another example would be like if you were bullied in high school, just people were joking on you and saying you're stupid, like you're not smart, like because you don't get good grades in class. That's like something that would carry over to you now as an adult with your shadow self, if you were to carry that in your subconscious programmings and beliefs of you subconsciously thinking that you're stupid because you were told that from a really young age when you were getting bullied. That would now be your ego if it was holding you back from decisions of being like, oh, I'm not going to apply for that scholarship because I'm not going to get it because I'm not smart. That's your ego. That's your shadow self coming through. That's all of those things talking to you, coming through based on those subconscious beliefs and programmings that happened to you when you were younger. That's your unhealed inner child, that when you were younger and getting bullied and no one said, hey, no, like Susan, you actually are really smart or whatever, like don't listen to them, like you have so much potential, all that sort of stuff. That's what I mean when I say like your unhealed inner child, is because that subconscious belief or that bullying that happened like was never actually healed for you to overcome what someone told you, and you accepted that belief and thought that that was the truth about who you are. And so also along with that, oftentimes the ego honestly feels undeserving about a lot of things. Like ego is what tends to talk us out of like ideas that we have or risks that we may want to pursue, or different challenges that we might want to like tackle head first. Our ego tends to make us feel like we're undeserving, like we can't do it, like it's too challenging, like we don't have it in us. Okay, so all of that is kind of like holistically is what our ego kind of shows up as. So then on the contrary, our higher self, like the higher self is your light. It's your healed self, your healed inner child. It's your authenticity, your awakened spirit, your genuine creation, like what you genuinely feel called to pursue. It's your acceptance of yourself and of others, your belief in yourself, your trust in the flow of life or the universe, whatever you believe in, or God. And it's also about like keeping an open heart center. Your higher self feels open to new experiences. It feels deserving. It feels like it can. It feels like anything is possible. Your higher self is just free of judgments, of opinions, of fears, and it's just you at like your truest, most authentic, healed form. So for example, going back to that example of when someone called Susan dumb when she was in the 5th grade. The higher self is like when you've become healed from that situation, where you've shined light in that shadow part of who you are, where you've reprogrammed those limiting beliefs to know like what the truth is of stepping into your power, like I talked about in episode 2, and saying, actually, no, like this is what I bring to the table and I believe I'm a smart person. So if your higher self would take the time to heal that and understand that that was someone who was coming, trying to tear me down because of their own healing that they had to still do, and what they said was not the absolute truth, that was just a projection of their own insecurities or their own anger or their own ego, their own hurt onto me. And you choosing to release that and saying, I don't need to accept their judgment about me of saying that I'm not smart. I'm releasing that. I'm giving that back to them. I'm taking my power back, and I'm believing that I am a smart person with a brain who's competent and capable and able. That's something where your higher self would come in and flood that shadow with light. Open up your heart center, free yourself of those judgments, of those opinions of others, of those fears, and just flood yourself with just pure self-belief. Like that is the higher self coming in. And the thing is that so often, so many of us just live in our ego. And we let our ego run our lives, our decisions, our actions, like what we pursue, our endeavors, our dreams. Like that's what always blows my mind, is like, it's so unbelievably common to have our ego be literally what derails our highest potential, our highest life path, because we're too busy being consumed by our fear, the anxiety, the self-doubt that is ran by our ego. And like these subconscious beliefs that we were told growing up from stupid like bullies in high school, our parents who were unhealed themselves, who projected things onto ourselves, our teachers who weren't happy with their lives because they were getting ran by their ego, like all of these sort of things, it just ends up being a chain reaction, and we sit in this lower vibrational frequency of just lower consciousness of being dominated by our ego, and it literally keeps people away from like living and pursuing and taking action on their dreams and their goals and their passions and their deepest desires. And it just is insane. Like, and that's why I think this episode is so important, because once you realize like, oh, that's just my ego talking, I actually can do it. Like anything is possible. I do have it in me. I am capable. I am able. Like good things happen to me, like possibilities are endless, like good fortune comes to me effortlessly. Like once you're able to have the awareness between those two things, like it totally frees you up and just allows you to tackle like full force like what you genuinely want to do unapologetically, I feel, at least for me. So like for example, because here we are with all of my examples every episode. So this was like, again, if I were to talk about just what I just was saying, if I were to not chase my dream career, which is Livfiit, which is this brand, which is this business that I am hoping obviously to scale much more than what it is right now, but I have such a vision for it of where I want it to go in the future. And like, if I didn't pursue it because I was scared of being judged, let me tell you something. Again, if you want to know more backstory about the brand, go to episode 1. I talk all about like how Livfiit started, but I started this like literally in high school. Okay. I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school. I went to a really small school that was in a small town. Everyone knew everyone's business. Everyone knew everybody. Everyone gossiped about everybody. And I like looking back, like I'm not even gonna lie, like looking back, I'm like, Liv, what? Like I don't know how 17-year-old me was so fearless about it. It was just like, Fook, yeah, like I'm gonna just start a fitness page because I want to. Like I don't really know. I don't really know what got into me, but I did it so unapologetically, and I just did it. Like fear, like I don't know. Like I don't even remember. I really don't. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I didn't care what people thought. I don't remember if I was nervous. I don't really think I thought about it because I was just so. I don't think it was on my radar just because I was so like hyper focused. Like I just was like mesmerized and fascinated by what I saw online of like other people pursuing social media that I was like, give me like something shiny. I want it. Like, and I just was like super laser focused. And I think this was also what it was. Actually, do you remember this? I just remember thinking it was so freaking sick. Like those women I saw on social media that I thought they were like epic, elite, sick individuals that I was like, I think that's so freaking sick. So I'm going to go do it because I want it. Like, I don't really care what other people think. Like, I think that's so sick. So I just did it like fearlessly, unapologetically. But like, if I never took that dive, if I was scared of judgments, if in high school, if I was scared of people bullying me or making fun of me, I know, like, okay, I don't have any evidence, but like I guarantee there were so many people that probably talked so much crap about me starting that page or whatever, or made fun of me for the things I posted. Because even looking back, I look at things and I'm like, that was so cringy, I can't believe I posted that. But you know, I'm learning and growing as I go and whatever. At least I'm freaking trying. Okay, while these people are just dishing out freaking disses left and right because they're too scared to be quote unquote embarrassed or fail, whatever. And if I were to never do that, like I would never be sitting here. And I just think like this when I feel so grateful like every single day, like because if I were to like I went to college for supply chain management, and I always think like if I were to be doing some freaking logistics with Coke bottles from a 9 to 5 every day, I would want to poke my eyeballs out. No hate to people who are doing that job, but for me and what I enjoy doing day to day and my creativity and my passions, I would be so unhappy and so unfulfilled and so not at peace. So it's just like, if I were to not have taken that leap and just tried to pursue my dream career simply just because I wanted to, if I had let my self-doubt get the best of me, and I wouldn't be sitting here. I would be living a life that I actually genuinely despised. Like, and I know that sounds so dramatic, but I know for a fact that's how I would feel. And, you know, I don't want to say like I pursued it in high school and it was an easy sailing road. That's a thing. Like I battled with my ego for years with this platform with Livfiit. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like I said, 17 when I started this, I'm 22 now. I just started picking up traction the past like 5-6 months. And that's because I was constantly fighting my ego. Constantly. I always felt self-doubt. I never felt like I was good enough. I always was like, people are going to think this is weird. Like, because when it actually got time to me actually like trying to post content every day or like topics that I wanted to talk about, I'd be nervous of being like, what people are going to think. Like, what does this mean? What image is this giving off? Like, what should I say? What do people want to hear? Like, what should I be talking about? You know what I mean? Like, then the same thing, that was the biggest thing. Like, who am I? How do I have something important to say? Who's going to listen to me? I can't do this. I'm fighting such an uphill battle. Like, how am I supposed to get people to listen to me over and over and over? Like, it was so just noise in my head, just egoic noise that was in my head, telling myself that I can't do it, that I'm not good enough, trying to push me down. That was just all my shadow self. And if I submissed, if I let that win, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't be able to be here giving you this message that I feel so strongly and passionate about, as you can tell by just the way I'm talking and how like juiced up I feel right now. But it blows my mind because I love what I'm doing so much. Like, I feel so free and thankful and in alignment with who I truly genuinely want to be, what I want to get out of this life. And like, I just think if I let my ego win and get the best of me and I wasn't sitting here, I would be a whole different person, simply because I would be living at such a lower vibrational frequency, a lower consciousness, and I would just be filled with such lower emotions from day to day. I feel like again, it's always a mental battle, but I just am saying I would not feel as aligned with my higher self as I do right now, like not nearly anything like that. And I think of the people, like my heart goes out to the people who do struggle with their ego. And I also don't want to ever come across like I'm healed. Like I still am battling my ego. I do feel like we really always will be. It will always come up, but the goal is to quiet down that ego and not have it take up so much space in our minds. You know what I'm saying? But like, I just think about people who, if they were to just if they weren't aware of this and just let their ego consume them and believe that their ego, like that their ego was the truth and that is what's right and that is what's the honest answer, when it's not. It's just our subconscious programming that we think is the truth, but it's not. And I just think, like, if they were to listen to that and then just not go after their dreams because they just don't think it's not possible, that they're not good enough, when it just, I'm like, no, like, you are good enough. You can do it. You do have it in you. Like, you have that dream for a reason. It's in your heart for a reason. You have that desire for a reason. You need to act on it. And so I just, like, that's just my biggest thing. It's like, please, if you take anything from this episode, don't let your ego take you out of the game. Don't let it derail you from trying to pursue your dreams. Like, you are good enough. You need to keep trying. Keep experimenting, try different things, but don't let yourself just not even try because of your ego. So my higher self is like finally what pulled me out of that, finally believing that I am able, freeing myself of opinions and judgments of others and just doing what I genuinely feel called to pursue, sharing what I genuinely feel called to share, really tapping into my authenticity and just doing what feels right, what I want to share. All of that was me tapping into my higher self and letting that be what pulls me up out of that egoic state and drive me forward to progress and to be able to finally get some traction and connect with people, because people feel that authenticity, the genuineness. I don't know if genuineness is a word, but I always want to say that. I always want to say genuineness and genuity. I don't know if those are words, but anyway, people feel that when you're like organic, when you're just you in your raw form. And like, that's why I do feel like I finally have been able to connect with people, is because I've stepped into my higher self, tapped into my higher self, and freed myself of those egoic beliefs and just said, you know what? No, like, I really can do that. Another example is I studied abroad in high school. I'm really going off on this episode, but I'm just feeling it. Another example is I studied abroad. Did I say high school? I studied abroad in college. Junior year of college, spring semester. I went to Alicante, Spain. Shout out to my Spanish babes who are listening to this, because I know I have so many global listeners and just Livfiit supporters, which I love. So shout out to everyone who's not in the US listening to this. And if you are in the US, I still love you. But we're just trying to expand borders, So like I said, went to study abroad. I stayed with the host mom. She spoke no English, like literally actually none. My Spanish was at best subpar. Could get through a conversation in a very broken manner, but like, okay, I was better at like reading it and listening to it than speaking it and writing it, if that makes sense. So regardless, I look back at that decision now and I'm like, damn, Liv was fearless when she said, yes, let's send it to Spain. So and I didn't know anyone else who was studying abroad. I didn't know anyone from my college who was going. So I just was going by myself. I could barely speak Spanish. I've also never been to Europe before. I've never been to a country that doesn't speak English. And like I said, my Spanish was absolutely subpar and my host mom spoke no English. So like, I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, let's go and like completely push ourselves out of our comfort zone. So if I was too scared, like if I had anxiety about it, if I just thought all the things that could go wrong, if I was just being scared of getting out of my comfort zone, that would be me falling victim to my ego. And I would have never experienced that completely like expansive experience. I just would have sat in my comfort zone. Nothing would have changed. I love the quote, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I would have been dominated by my ego. And I would have sat there. I would have never been able to experience beautiful Spain and evolve as a person. But by me trusting that it would be for my highest good, an evolution as a person, and just remaining open to these new experiences by tapping into my higher self, keeping my heart space open and not closing out of fear from my ego. That's what opened me up to all those amazing experiences. And now I look back to when I was studying abroad in Spain and I'm like, Liv, that like you were that bitch. Like you freaking did that. Like I was in Europe. Like I just was in Europe by myself. I got to go to multiple different countries. I went to France. I went to Switzerland. I went to all different parts of Spain. And it just opened me up so much as an individual. Like I feel so much more cultured. I feel so much more like I am able to achieve like hard, uncomfortable situations. Like I feel like I experience what it's like to be like kind of the minority, for lack of a better term, for not knowing how to like, I just learned so much about like how, gaining perspective on like English, not only gaining perspective on the Spanish language, but also that allowed me to reflect on the English language and how we say certain things that are just very interesting. And I learned the perspective of learning from someone who are speaking a language that isn't their first language. I feel like in America, we always judge people who like who with English isn't their first language. And like I experience what it's like to not have Spanish, the native language, be my first language. You know, like I'm not a not smart person. They're just speaking a different language to me. And that was just something that was like so eye-opening, because getting into different seats and perspectives allowed me to see things in such different ways, and it opened me up so much as a person. And like I honestly feel like fearless. Like I'm like, I can do anything. Like I want to move to Hawaii. I'm like, I will probably do that alone. Like it just opened me up so much, and like really allowed me to tap into my higher self by pushing my comfort zone and just having trust and having faith and knowing that this will be for my highest good and my highest evolution. Same thing moving out here to Utah. I could have stayed in New York where it was safe, where my family's all there, where it was like accepted and familiar, all that sort of stuff. That would have been me just living in my ego, because it likes comfortability, it likes safety, it likes familiarity. I could have just sat there and not get out of my comfort zone. But again, I chose to move across the country to Utah to get out of my comfort zone, where I felt that I could expand, and again, knowing that it would be for my best. So those are just all different examples where it's like you could choose to sit in your ego and feel like you can't do it, be in this place of lack, thinking of all the bad things that could happen, or you can step into your power, again, shout out episode 2, and step into that higher self and know that you are capable. Trust in the goodness of life, trust in the divine timing of things, trust in the possibilities, trust that the universe or God or whatever you want to believe in, if it's nothing, just the flow of life, has your back. Like, just trust that. And knowing that everything is going to work out in the end for your evolution as a person is really just the belief that tapping into your higher self gives you. So if you take away anything from this episode, just don't let your ego hold you back. Don't let it take you out of the game. Have the awareness to know that if you're feeling these bouts of resistance or being like, I can't do it, I don't know. Of course, have the discernment to decide like if it's your intuition that's guiding you towards a decision or if it's your ego. But if it's just these self-limiting beliefs or self-doubt, no, it's not the absolute truth. That's a subconscious programming and just your shadow self that's trying to hold you back. Don't submit to the ego. Don't let your ego dominate you. Tap into your higher self, the trust, the hope, the faith, the belief, and that will be what will carry you through towards all of your most beautiful dreams, desires, your dream life, your dream reality. Damn, that just got me so excited. I can't help but smile, but it's like true. It's like I just feel like the ego is like this path of like darkness, and then like your higher self is just like your absolute dream life where there's fairies and butterflies and rainbows. Of course, with hardships, there's shadow in every situation and light in every situation. But just tap into that higher self, sister. Just know that goodness is everywhere and beauty is everywhere. So for the affirmation for this week for you to step into is, I free myself of my egoic mind and am in alignment with my highest self. I free myself of my egoic mind and am in alignment with my highest self. Make sure you say that out loud and preferably in the mirror. All right, you guys, that's it for today's episode. I really hope you loved it and enjoyed it and got something out of it. Like I said, if you didn't already know, I am doing 12 days of Livfiitmas on my YouTube channel, so I will be posting 3 days a week on there, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Super stoked about it. Lots of videos planned. You can go to my Instagram and there will be the flyer for all of the videos I will be planning out for this month. I also will actually link it in the show notes as well if you want to click on it and check it out to see what videos are going to be airing and when they're going to be airing. So I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.